Sign up now at elevate.miami.edu for my course, Organized Rhyme. Looking at the word legacy, while involving some wordplay, I'll use the first syllable to build upon. We'll use the first syllable, leg. For the second syllable, we'll use an. And for the third syllable, we'll use the word knee. So now we have leg and knee. Can we use it in context with legacy? Let's just see. Wordsworth Productions with a S.com for all merch. I got 2 books available right now. What Words Are Worth Volume 1, and I also have a children's book called Socks. Age range from 12 to 15, so it's kind of like the middle school and high school age range, but adults can read it as well. And I'm gonna start with that, welcome to another episode of What Words Are Worth. We were talking off camera a little bit here, because I've been inspired watching and motivated by Mr. F.L.U.I.D, who is a phenomenal MC, able to put bars together, able to do some storytelling, very prolific with putting music out, has a new album coming out, Find Love Under Its Disguise. And it's one of those albums that, it has energy on it, it has concepts on it, it has lyrics on it, it has beats on it. You can actually pre-order it right now when this comes out. If you see this, whenever you see it, just check, because you may be able to order it right now, depending on when you see this. This actually will be out next week or so. And I'm just impressed with all the promo he's been doing. So that's what we've been talking about. So shout out to this great lyricist, Mr. F.L.U.I.D. Good morning, man. I appreciate having you on here, man. Tell us about the ordering pack here that we see as well too, as you build on everything.
Okay, yeah. So just to be clear, the album drops on all DSPs February 3rd. You can check it everywhere. It's Mr. F.L.U.I.D, Quincy Tones, Find Love Under Its Disguise, which is an acronym for Fluid.
Nice.
But if you hit my Bandcamp right now, it's mrfluid.bandcamp.com. And that's MR Fluid. You can get that package right there as a bundle. You can order the fitted cap separate with the embroidery. Well, it's not fitted, my bad. It's snapback with the CD or the vinyl. You can get them together or separate right now. And I'm selling copies already, so it's a limited run. A lot of orders been coming through. But yeah, there's two music videos out now on YouTube, and if you go to Bandcamp, you can also listen to those 2 singles that are out now. So you can get a little taste of what it is right now, but it's available to pre-order right now.
Dope, man. So for this album, you picked a different beat landscape. So tell me what it was like working with Quincy Tones.
Man, it was incredible, man. I first heard about him through your album with Pearl Gates, and I was impressed by that production. But and just kind of kept him. Every time I discover a new producer, get him tucked back in my mind a little bit. And then you and I had a talk after we worked on the Lifespan video that we shot here. And it was just a conversation about stepping up my game as far as production, and really reaching out to some people I never reached out to, some people who maybe had some connection, or just a presence out there that I don't have, and that would their sound overall would help elevate what I was doing. So I wasn't even thinking Quincy. I just started digging through BeatStars, and it just so happened at the time, which he's not on there anymore, he had up to 400 beats, which is unusual. Like a lot of producers upload that many beats to their account, but he had uploaded crazy beats to his BeatStars, and I just found so much in there I could use and wanted to use, and made a point to choose different beats for each song, in the sense that how producers will tag their beats, like De La type beat, The Roots type beat, Kanye type. I made sure I chose different lanes for each song, so every song has a different feel to it, and it just ended up working perfect, man. I couldn't ask for anything better with that album. And I wasn't even trying to do but I ended up getting like 12 tracks. You know, it just kept building. You know what I mean? Because it just lined up so well. But I'm very proud of the way it turned out.
Yeah, I'll give some insight on when I was out there and we shot the Lifespan video, which y'all need to go check that out. That's one of my favorite songs I've done personally, but also working with you as well. Um, I've heard you rap and you always kill the rhymes and all that, but it's no slight to the producers you've been with. It was more so, how can we raise your profile after doing it so long? I've been through that too. You know, we all go through that. You even from a producer could feel the same way. A producer could be producing with an artist around the way, and then all of a sudden they're able to get Conway on it, or let's say Nas. You're gonna support them. Hey, go do that Nas album, right? So it was kind of the same mindset. I was like, man, if you get with some of these known producers, it'll cast a light on you there. And then it'll also help the people that you may be working with locally, because you can always go back and work together. But it's just about trying to figure out how to get more light and shine. So it works in a producer space too for y'all out there. Either way, too. If you're a producer and you get big opportunities, go do those, come back. Just trying to, it's all about exposure, right?
Yeah, and that's how I saw it too. I mean, I didn't take it as a critique on what I was doing because I mean,
Yeah.
fan beat I produced, you know, and that turned out well. And several things I've done, I'm really proud of. I am one that tends to, with the exception of maybe the last couple of years, put out a whole lot of music. So sometimes, you know, it's maybe not a 10, might be an 8.5 or something like that in the scale. But I just I like the means of expressing myself the way I want to do it, and
Yeah.
sometimes sometimes it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I like experimenting because if you don't like one album but you like the one before it, hey, jam the one before it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then that'd be what it is. I also did a project called SODL, Straight Out the Lab, that's all like drum and bass hip hop hybrid with my man 360 degrees, and we got Jamalski on that thing, and it Pish Posh, and it hits a whole nother level to the point to where those fans probably aren't necessarily going to dig the Mr. Fluid albums, and the Mr. Fluid albums may and may not dig the SODL. Could reach two separate audiences, but you know, it's all music. It's all expression. You know.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I enjoy about you is that you're fearless. Like, yo, let me try it. Let me rap on this, because we're historians of knowing hip hop, and we know that a lot of times a lot of people got trapped in a box. Whatever way they came out, that's what it was. It took some years until people started saying, "Yo, it's okay to rap on an R&B record. It's okay to rap on a pop song. It's not the beat, it's how you come across, right?" Then we started learning more. It's about delivery. It's about how you're going to come on that beat and what you're going to do with your unique style and everything. So um that's what's dope about you as well. So give us the origin of your name, where you're from originally, as far as where you've established your career so far.
The origin of the name is kind of interesting. You know, I used to go by Verbal. I was in a group called Company of Strangers. I was previously in a kind of a collaborative thing called Just Us League, which was not anything to do with the North Carolina that movement, but it
Mhm,
was here in Mississippi. We called ourselves that without even realizing they were doing that there. But I always went by Verbal for years.
mhm.
Well, I did a song when I was in Colorado. Matter of fact, Pish Posh produced it, and we called it Mr. Fluid because my idea was this. As soon as I wrote it down, I was like, it sounds like some kind of hip hop superhero, but like slash porn star. Like the self is kind of is edgy in the sense that I'm talking kind of slick. So it's like it was almost a joke, you know what I mean? And you know, because I even had my sister in the song like talking back, like, "What are you, Mr. Fluid? You sound some like some kind of superhero porn star or something." You know what I mean? So it was
Man, it's funny, the growth, huh? The growth of which from then to now.
yeah, it's
Funny.
crazy because it was a joke, but then the more I kept going with Company of Strangers, and we did another EP as well. Still keeping the verbal name handle, but I always had in my mind, if I ever go solo, that I want to use that name. And then because to me, like Fluid sounds good. Most people really just call me Fluid, but
Mm-hmm.
the Mister to it just makes it unique. It stands out a little bit. And to some people, it may be a little, seems corny or whatever, but it's also standing out. You're going to remember that somebody was called Mr. Fluid that you met. And with Verbal, I ran into too many people that had that same name. So I was like,
Yeah.
another name that sounds like somebody else. Chances are there's another Fluid out there. I don't know, but
Right.
it's another Mr. Fluid. You know what I mean? So that was a lot of that. As far as where I'm from, originally Braxton, Mississippi, which isn't half an hour or so from here. I'm in West Jackson right now, Jackson, Mississippi, and spent most of my life, or at least half my life, in Jackson. So.
No.
Uh, uh, my adulthood outside of the little patch I lived in Colorado has been pretty much in Jackson, and my whole um, origin of as an MC and even as a poet began and with me hitting stages in Jackson and hitting open mics in Jackson and collaborating. The whole influence of me becoming what I became really was from the scene in Jackson. So I will always give credit to there, but I am clear about I wasn't born in Jackson, but
Right.
this is the type of area, central Mississippi, that if you're not if you're not if you don't live in Jackson, a lot of people work in Jackson. So you live an hour away, you still come to Jackson because that's where the jobs are. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
and it's a predominantly black city, so you tend to get a lot of pushback from other cities around it, but they still come here to work. So that's a whole politic there, that's interesting. But I always appreciated the love I get here and the hip hop community that is here.
And then what would you say is your writing style? For me, your writing style, it does have that aesthetic of the poetry in it. I can hear it in the flows that you may choose to use, also the wording and the cadences and everything. What do you define your writing style? How do you look at your writing style when people identify you?
It's interesting because I really see it in a similar fashion to where Bruce Lee talked about having no style, right? Right. So study it so you can break the rules. And that's really what I try to do. I try to really listen to how everybody does everything they do, from cadence to wordplay to even authors, you know what I mean? And poets to MCs and talk show hosts, comedians, Um, so I'm paying attention to everything and trying to keep it all up in here. But when I go to write, I just kind of black out and just write just what feels. Usually, it's what the beat's telling me to do. I tend to write to. So if the beat's dark, I might write in that direction and come off a little dark, and you'd be like, "Oh, he's got a style like so and so." But if you give me a happy joint, I might sound like Chub Rock or something on there because I'm just in the bouncy type mood. So I really try not to have a formula. I mean, there are certain things I know I do, but I don't know how to describe it as far as just a particular writing style, other than just making sure I have something to say, making sure I'm fitting the music. So even if it's more of a happy joint, I still want to drop a jewel or two in there, but I don't want to make it a serious song all of a sudden because you put an MC on a different kind of beat. It doesn't mean I got to take it dark or take it political or anything like that. I try to fit with the music. So it depends, man. It depends. It's tough to explain.
Yeah, I would say also hearing the new album, the first record on there that sets it off, you can hear, that's what I like about you. Like you're able to your tonality, like you're able to go on that record, you can hear the energy, like your hype. You like trying to like, coming at people. And then when I hear joints like the pen and other stuff that that you have, it's very like right in sync with the way you should deliver it. So yeah, yeah. So that's what's been dope about like me getting a sneak peek of the album as well. And what has been some of your influences, whether it's from being out there in Mississippi or wherever, you know, growing up, even today, any new influences?
Well, man, I'll tell you this before I say that. My man Marcel P. Black that actually introduces me on the album.
Yeah, shout out to Marcel. I gotta get Marcel on here, man. You know, I just want to mention Marcel before. I'm sorry, I want to mess you up, but you know, gotta get Marcel. He's connected me with a couple of y'all and everything. So I gotta get Marcel. I just be bouncing around trying to get everybody, man. And it's scheduling, but I do try. I'm trying to get everybody, man. So shout out to Marcel. I'll hit you up. Actually, I'll hit you up today, man.
Yeah, and he's working on the new album too, so he'll appreciate that. But he told me one time that I sounded like, or I reminded him of a Southern Beastie Boy with Brother Ali content. And I was like, God, man, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I grew up in you know, to be clear, I was born in '80, right? So I was there for the beginning of the Def Jam era and Run DMC and Beastie Boys and Slick Rick and all that and Public
Yep.
Enemy. So that's embedded in me. So I always looked at it like I'm not like Run or DMC. I'm not like Ricky D. I'm not like I didn't have that background. I'm more like the Beastie Boys than anything because that's just more my personality. So I don't have to pretend that I'm a gangster or that I'm super tough because they never acted tough and people appreciated them for being honest the way I saw it. So I
Right.
always mind to where I don't have to really be anybody. So influences, just musicality was the idea of mixing rock and rap and being able to do whatever you want with this music. Of course, Nas with the storytelling, um,
Hmm.
Eddie Kane, Cool G Rap. Um, man, I swear
What,
nothing.
what was the moment though? Right, you gave me all these influences. So, but a lot of those influences, you also was on poetry. What was the moment when you clicked from the poetry and said, "I'm dope. I'm a dope rapper too." You know, because some people, I know a couple people that did the poetry, and then they were like, "Yo, this." I guess sometimes people felt the poetry wouldn't work on the beats, and then at some point you said, "Yo, I could rock on these beats too with the poetry vibe." You know?
Well, that's interesting because I probably wrote poetry from about age 13 or 14 up until about maybe 19 before I maybe 18 before I really started trying to turn it into rap. And I
Yeah.
did fun because I used to record myself on cassette and I write songs because I would like play guitar and do all kind of other stuff. So I used to record myself and I might freestyle in my room or something just for fun. But I started doing poetry at open mics in Jackson, like I said earlier. And it wasn't till I was literally on stage with other MCs because they were like, "Who wants to get up and freestyle?" And I was there because I wanted to be a part of the scene, but I really
Mhm.
poet. And I had long hair then too. I probably had a Metallica t-shirt on for all I know. And I remember going up there and just trying it. And they were rhyming, I would rhyme with them. And then I remember getting a huge applause and like
Okay.
appreciated it. But I was just up there having fun. So it took a couple of years or a year or so maybe before but a couple of more people that saw me do it was like,
Okay.
local producer actually hit me up and was like, "Hey man, I think I could work with you. You ever thought about doing a solo album, doing an album?" And at the time, I was writing poetry books. So I was like, "What do you mean an album?" You know, and he was like, "You could." I was like, "Can I?" You know what I mean? Like, can I
Right. Right.
the whole thing? So and this was the time when Slim Shady just dropped. You know what I mean? So he was probably, I wouldn't say probably, when I heard the Slim Shady LP, it blew the top of my head off. And I was like, oh, I didn't know not just a white guy could rap like this, but I didn't know you could rap like this, period. Like
Yeah.
how he worded things. And it was just nobody had done it that way before. and also talked about the so-called white trash life or whatever, and was just himself. He didn't try to be anybody else. So that was that, and then also at the same time, you got Rhyme Sayers, which is Brother Ali and Slug of Atmosphere. Slug was one who to me was a poet. To me, Chuck D was a poet, is a poet, but Slug was a very relatable poet to me, and also he was an MC, so his rhymes sounded like poetry. And I peeped the game, like you have a lot of poet turned MCs that aren't very good at it, and they may have some really interesting things to say, but it's like they're fitting too many words in a bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sound like music. It sounds like you're doing this piece over this beat, and you may be in this room and the beat's over here. You don't sound like you're making a song. So I was like, there's no reason why somebody can't be like a Slug or Brother Ali, where their stuff sounds like poetry, but it also sounds like an MC delivering poetry.
Sage Francis as well, I would add.
Sage is what a makeshift patriot. Um,
Yeah.
my mind when I heard that. I remember playing it like 3 times in a row when I first heard it, and I was like, I didn't even know what it was. This was the Napster days, and I just knew that one song from Sage until I think I bought the Nonprofits album. But that was the one thing I knew from him for probably a year or so before I heard anything else.
Yeah, and he started with the poetry roots. Like he started as a poet too. So it's kind of interesting to see who grasped it from being a poet and then was able to be successful going on with it. So how are you writing the rhymes today versus when you started? Are you writing in your head, on the phone, computer, paper and pen still, or how's that going?
Well, in the beginning, it was all composition books. It was all penciling, penciling paper. You know what I mean? And not
Yeah,
paper. And I still got all those books, but I can't front, man. As soon as the phones came around, and I realized that it was easier to just have it with you. You could edit, and like you could copy and paste into a
right.
document. There's still a certain feel to pen and paper. And matter of fact, I wrote a verse the other day on paper just because I hadn't done it in a while, and I was like, let me see how this works out. And it worked out fine. But I looked at the paper and saw these scribbles. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna write, like I said earlier, I write like a stream of consciousness. So I'm gonna steady write, but
Right.
back in editing is what makes it work. You know what I mean? My writing might just flow, but I have to go back and edit so much because I'm like, I don't like this word. Maybe I should have did this. And if you look at the paper, it looks like chicken scratch. But if you look at a document where I typed it out, it's like, okay, that makes more sense. And just the idea of being able to have it in print later, because I am working on a book. Because of your advice to do a book with lyrics and commentary. So I've actually got all that typed out, and
Dope.
uh, the lyric part was easy because I just copied and pasted. And I was like, well, I've
Yeah.
already out.
Dope. Yeah. So it's interesting to see some people are very traditionalist still with it and paper, pencil, and then some people have totally gone computer. It took me a minute to kind of get used to it because I was so used to that too. But then once I was able to start, I guess carrying like having the phone in my hand and being in front of the mic, I was like, all right, this is what it is. And then what it's like when you're doing these songs, are you worried more about the verse first or the chorus, or what's the order and getting that together?
It depends on the beat. I used to neglect the chorus until I wrote a whole bunch of bars, and it sometimes it'd be hard to like, okay, what is this song about?
Right.
So because of that, I tend to write chorus sometimes first because I want to get a theme to write about. Sometimes I just need a premise to make this song about, especially if I'm doing 3 verses. I need to know, even maybe have bullet points about what I need to talk about through this song. Um, and just the easiest way to do that is to write the chorus first, and also, many may argue the chorus is the most important part because that's what's going to really stick in people's heads, and it's
Yeah.
what ties everything together. It depends. Some beats don't even need a chorus, but it depends how it goes. If I'm gonna if I'm gonna send it to another MC to be on it, I guarantee you I'm gonna have a hook ready.
Mm,
That way, when they write their verse, they can write off usually my verse and a hook, and
yeah.
then that. So they're ready. That I've alley-ooped it for them. You know what I mean? They already have something to go off. Where I've been sent beats sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know what this song's about because they'll just send me the straight instrumental. You don't even hear much of a difference between the chorus and the hook. And sometimes beats are like that. They don't change much for the hook
Yeah.
unless you write a hook and put it in there. You don't necessarily know what a hook's supposed to be.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, like the era. I mean, not all songs back in the days had hooks. Some people was rapping 4 minutes long and not, no hook. Records have changed. And then I remember thinking about how being a traditionalist myself and purist coming up in that era of like you got to start songwriting having hooks, right? If you want to get radio play and all of that. Then as the internet exploded to where we are now, I think of Young M.A., no hook on her song, very popular. Bobby Smurda, no hook on there. Like these songs started coming out just from people like just uploading so much that it just broke the boundaries of format. I don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like some joints, you don't have a format, right?
I said earlier, you learn the rules so you can break them. There's really no rules. There's form. So you may come up with a certain formula for how you do music in general, but then something would take you about left field one day, and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do none of that. I'm just going to do this. You know what I mean? So, and some people, some MCs have told me, hey, you always start off rapping. Don't start off the song with a hook. That's whack. And I'm like, huh? Because sometimes I'll get sent beats that the hook starts it. And then you go into, and what am I going to do? Rearrange it? No, I like to listen to how the producer hears it. So if producer sends me something where the hook's up front, the hook's coming first. You know what I mean? Because that's what makes sense with the beat. So yeah,
I remember I was told one time, honestly, like by somebody in the industry that to get a record on radio, you have to have the hook first.
see.
I was told that. So then I started listening to records on the radio, but then like you said, people break the rules. Like Busta Rhymes, Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. That doesn't start with the hook. So it depends on, I think, what the public says or who people, what the club or the DJs may deem is popular, and then they go from there. I do want to ask you, going into this next question, but also about, maybe think of another question. Are you doing two verses or three verses? Where we at with that? Are you still doing three verses? Because now it's
I hate to keep saying this, but it depends, right? So
Mhm.
start writing, if I have a story to tell, right? If I have a particular thing in my mind that I want to talk about, if I'm finished by the second verse and it just feels ready, like I'm good. You know what I mean? Because most songs, especially like you said these days, really don't need but two verses. But I want to keep writing. I don't care what the industry, what social media, what the so-called rules are. It doesn't matter. If I want to make a 5 minute song, I'm making a 5 minute song. If the DJ wants, then they can skip it in a minute and a half. I want to complete the expression, because you look at like storytelling raps, like Biggie and all this stuff from back in the day. Those songs weren't two verses. Sometimes the songs were four verses. You know what I mean? Imagine if, and I think we talked about this before. Boogie Down Productions was "Love's Gonna Get You." You know what I mean? What if they?
Oh, one of my favorite songs ever written.
What if he would have cut it after two verses and been like, "Peace"? It's like you missed the rest of the story, and a lot of stuff you've been involved in. The story, like with you punching Master Ace, another block episode,
Yeah.
and the song's off, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been in that tug of war with it as a recent though. Like, You know, I've only been doing 2 verses now because it's just like in and out, but it definitely is a tug of war depending on the way you're doing it. I've also done songs that I'm like 12 bars is enough, you know, like I've done that too. And so it really is it's a case by case basis, like you're saying.
I mean, you were complimenting the pen. The pen's 3 verses, and the
Right.
is that you make it interesting. So the last verse of the pen, the drums drop out, and piano and all this other stuff comes in. Which Quincy added that after I got the beat from him. I sent the stems, and he sent it back to me with new music at the end, which was great, man. Which makes him a fantastic producer, and having the ear to be able to hear what I did and then add to it, and not just be a beat maker. He's a producer's producer. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if I wouldn't had that third verse on there, he wouldn't have done that, and you wouldn't have had like this kind of climax at the end of the song. So when you're listening to it, you're not thinking, "Oh man, this is the same verse, same." You're hearing the same thing again. No, it's changing at the third verse. So that's the thing too. Like, what if the beat's changing as you go? You know what I mean? And it comes to a climax at the end. You don't want to stop it before you get to the apex of the song. It
And
depends.
how long does it take you to write a verse or a song? And also I want to throw the beat in there too, making beats because you are a producer. So I have some producer questions for you too.
A verse, if some so just writing along, if somebody sends me a beat, um it's more about me setting time to write. That's usually going to take way longer than the actual writing process. So um if I got a beat that I really like, and I set aside some time to sit and write to it, and I'm I got my wits about me, I'm not tired, everything's just set up, I can write very quickly. I can knock out a verse, maybe 15 minutes, you know what I mean? And then a hook, sometimes stuff comes really quickly, you know what I mean? Take longer to come up with the hook. And then once I get that going, I can write the verses because I want the hook to be, exactly right. Um, a lot of times, maybe I'll write the first 2 verses and then may come back a week later and write the third verse because I realize maybe it needs a third verse. It depends on what's going on with the song, but usually the writing process is more consciousness. Try to overthink it. When I get to overthinking is when I go back and edit things, and I'm like, okay, this could be sharper. So editing it may take longer than actual writing. The writing is like a flow. It just happens, and then I go back and fix it. As far as a beat, that can I'm really not the type of producer that's gonna make a beat real quick and be happy with it. I may work on a beat for 2-3 weeks before I'm like, yeah, it's done. I'll get it started, like I'll come up with the main idea of it, like the drums and the melody, the sample, the chop, whatever. I'll get that solid, and then it won't be a song yet, but it'll be, because I try to think about beats as songs. Like, it's not just a beat. It needs an intro, it needs verse, maybe need a bridge, a hook, outro. It's gonna need spots where the drums drop out, maybe speed up at points, slow down. Um, so beats take much longer for me because I possibly overthink them. When I try to be simple with it, they tend to turn out better. So um, yeah, man, it's interesting. I like I know you've talked about this before. Um, you know, drums are sample first, right?
Drums or no drums? You know I'm gonna get to that. I got another question for you too about I got questions for you. So I got questions for you, man. I haven't even gotten through some of the questions as you know how many questions I got, but for it's I got questions because you do both. So I got one question first is what is it like working on an album with Quincy Tones, who's produced all these people, and then you being a producer, are you excited and learning from his production at the same time? So you get what I'm saying, Floyd? So then now the next time you do something, what did he inspire you or kind of change your thought process on production? That's what I want to know.
I can tell you right now, beats I'm making now um, lean toward more soulful samples. Lean toward the drums being um, more simple. Lean toward just a feel. Before I did the album, and as is my habit with production, it tends to add a lot. Like I'll add a whole bunch of stuff and change ups and make a whole lot happen with the beat. My drums tend to be a little spastic at points in the beat, just choppy, I guess. But I
Yeah,
like it. I want it to kind of sound like live drums and like I'm doing a lot. But um, I will say yes, because the idea of putting out an album after this, I don't want to stray too far. This sounds like, because if there's people just introduced to me now, so I do want to make more traditional boom bap, soulful
yeah,
music. That's actually, as much as I love that style of music, it's always kind of been a challenge for me to just do simple beats, like with just a chop and some drums, because I want
hmm,
synths and I want to do this and risers and you know I want to do more, and not that that's bad, but I definitely think I want to do another album that's just kind of the drums and everything is just kind of background for me to, because that's the thing about hip hop. People could criticize hip hop producers sometimes, and I've heard it. Well, that beat doesn't change up the whole time. It's like, yeah, but it's got a feel to it, and it feels good. So if it feels good, does it matter if it changes? No. So what does it? How does it? Will it help the song if it changes? No. The MC's the one that's bringing high points and low points and making it catchy and bringing in hooks and things. So yeah, I definitely say it's influenced me to step up my game, and to not, honestly, not to try so hard, just to come up with a simple idea and run with it that feels good.
and then when this is one of those kind of conversations that drums, no drums for producers, but for rappers, a lot of times too. I've seen this cause people get, man, do you punch in at any time or do you do the verse straight through? What's your preference on that delivery of the verse?
But I'll tell you, in the beginning, I couldn't punch in. I had a homie, piece to Illa Bob Kane, one of my mentors, that he had a 4-track recorder, a little Tascam 4-track. He was like, yo, and the beat was on the first track mixed down. So I only had 3 tracks to do a hook, backups, and chorus.
Wow.
Had to figure it out, and he could mix that down once, and then give me another track. But for the main part, I couldn't punch in. So for years, I had to get it right. And also the idea of recording myself, I was like, I'm standing over here. Now I got to go over here and sit down. Now I got to stand over here and MC. Now I got to go sit down and engineer. So I would just try to get it right so I could go sit down and fix it. But over time, I've learned that it's much easier. I'm still not moving back and forth a lot if I don't have to. So with that said,
Yeah.
if I got a verse to do, I'll record like 6 versions of that verse while I'm at the mic. And I'll try to keep this tone the same for all 6, like try to get it perfect all 6 times. And chances are there'll be a little mess up here, there'll be a little mess up there. And so when I go to edit it and I see I messed up this word, if it works that I can just pull in the word from the other verse, then that's perfect. So it's not straight through. I mean, technically I'm rapping straight through, but And sometimes that works, sometimes it don't. Sometimes you need to say it all the way through because your tone changes. If you step away and come back, sometimes your tone's different, and you don't even realize it. So it's all about making it make sense. But I have figured out a formula to where I'll just sit at the mic and just keep recording the same verse over and over again. That way, when I go to sit down and edit, I can splice it and make it how I want it to sound.
Yeah, I've learned with is we've come up as the MC, as you know. That's why I like doing the shows because I could talk to MC. We could talk kind of like MC talk stuff. And when you come up in the game, well, I don't know how it is now because like there's no ciphers outside. There's really not none of that type of stuff. Um, there's open mics, but not really like open mics where you're going to really test and see a whole bunch of MCs. There's still open mics though, but just the thought process of when we were coming up, it was almost like a gauntlet or just like these certain things you had to be able to do. If you're in a certain studio with a certain engineer, nah, you can say that, man. Say the whole thing. Nah, we ain't punching it. You know what I'm saying? And then you would be with a different engineer. All right, I'm gonna punch you in right here.
Well,
And
yeah,
then, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, elaborate on that.
yeah, it was Pish Posh, which is also DJ Wally. When I was working in Colorado and on the Company of Strangers album, he came through, with the Mr. Fluid joint and a couple other joints on that Company of Strangers album, and I didn't want to punch in because it's like that wasn't how I came up, and he was
Right.
dude, what the fuck you doing? Pardon my language, but he was like, dude, just punch in. We ain't got to be here all day. And he's from New York too, and he's got that whole New York attitude and swag. And he was like, man, what the hell's wrong with you? Punch in. He's like, it's like, believe me, all your favorite MCs punch in. And he was like, don't worry about it. And then he started doing little things like taking out breaths, which I had never done before. And he was like, man, everybody does this. And
Yeah.
it's, truth is everybody does it. You'll hear a lot of joints where like now, since I've been taking breaths out of vocals and I do it for other MCs, I do it for the whole project. And I may leave some in if it sounds natural, if it doesn't get in the way. But you have certain MCs like this day I'll listen to, and I'll hear in between the rhymes, especially if they have this long run where they're not breathing and they're not stopping. At the end of that long run, you'll hear, and if you're not listening for it, you're not catching it. You don't even the average listener don't even care. You know what I mean? But it's something that stands out. So the little things like that you learn that it's not such a big deal, man. Go ahead, polish up. The interview you did with Pharoah Monch really broke it down because he was talking about how he would get in there like with a scalpel and just chop it. His verse may be one verse may be a composite of like 12 different verses. You
Mhm.
know, like that's just hey whatever, as long as it sounds good, as long as I'm getting the final product correct. And I didn't even realize he grew up with asthma, his life. So for him to accomplish what he's accomplished and still be the performer that he is today is a testament.
So then what about like writing in the studio at home? What are your preference? Because you might get invited to, hey, yo, come through. We're working on some music. Do you write it first or you don't mind if you have to go there and do it?
Well, technically my studio is at home. When I do get invited other places, if I haven't heard the beat yet, and if I haven't heard what anybody else is doing on it, I have to write there, right? Like I can't come fully. I might have some verses tucked away that I could do that may be general, but what if they're doing a song about a particular thing? And I'm like, well, now I got to talk about that in the song. And so you kind of have to write in the moment.
Yeah.
And best thing you can do then is just try to block people out and just if I get nobody talking to me for like maybe 20 minutes straight, I might could get a verse, just leave me alone. Like let me know what's going on with the song, but then like let me have a corner to where I can make it happen, and I'll try to be quick, you know what I mean? And usually the pressure makes me faster. Like the pressure
Okay.
makes me out because I'm like, okay, they expecting something from me. Let me deliver, you know what I mean? But yeah,
And then
it,
what about does it matter? Like well, I guess me and you are kind of early birds with it from what I see. And like even this morning, I was texting other artists. It was like 6 in the morning. Like some people are just up early 6. I'm an early person. I could write kind of anytime depending on whatever the situation. What's your preference as far as morning, evening?
I'm an early bird, man. I don't have to like my daily routine. I don't
Mhm.
7:30. I get up at 4:30. That doesn't even make sense to people when I tell them that. But it's like I like, and I get it from my dad. He used to travel out of state for work, but even if he had 2 hours to drive, he still sat in his chair, watched the news, made a pot of coffee, sat and sipped his coffee for at least an hour, watching the news before he even stood up and started getting dressed and getting ready for work. He was super early bird, right? So, um, and we would be getting up for school. I had school that, man, I was 25 minutes away from where I went to school. But for some reason, because I'm in the country, I got to get on this bus. This bus has got to go meet another bus, and I got to go through this whole other neighborhood, and it's an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before I get to school. So
Mm.
I guess I've just always been up because that's why I would be up with my dad. So these days, I started doing it a few years ago on purpose because I was I was getting into journaling, and I was like, well, I want to write 3 pages a day, and like, how can I do that? Um, it's the only way I know how to do that is get up when it's quiet, when there's nothing going on, my mind's fresh. I can make a pot of coffee and just everything's clear in the morning. It's a perfect time for me to write. Um, so that's the preferred way. And then sometimes I'll read in the morning, and reading might spark something in me to go write. That's kind of the cycle with me. It always has been. If I feel like I've never had writer's block, but if I feel like I don't want to write or don't have anything to say, man, it don't take but like reading a chapter out of a book, and it just something about hearing the way other people put sentences together or seeing it on paper makes me think, oh, I can do that, or maybe give me an idea, and I was like, oh, I like the way he said this, and.
And then what's it like as far as with beats? Your beat picking process, how many beats, like, because it's gonna be artists or producers, it's like, yo, let me work with Fluid, I got some stuff in. What do you prefer, like a folder full of beats, 5 beats? What's that like when you're picking beats? How are you choosing beats, and what do you prefer sent to you?
Well, I mean, a folder's always nice. That way, you can pick what's more likely to like fit with your style, because a folder may have like a dozen different styles going on in it, and they may be all dope, but they're not you. But sometimes the producer, especially local producers, people I know that I've worked with, or not necessarily local, just people, friends of mine that may be producers, they tend to make a beat specifically for me and then send me that one beat. And then that's what they want rhymes on. And they're usually not like, oh, what do you mean you don't like that? What I mean? They want something on that one beat. And yeah, every once in a while that can get tricky because they're dead set on one particular beat and maybe I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, send me something else. Like, what do you mean? I just sent you something. And so it can get tricky if somebody is very singular and they want you on this particular beat. Um, but if I can pick myself and like choose something that's more fitting to what I want to do, it's going to be better for everybody because there's a greater chance I'm actually going to write to it, actually going to put it out and be proud of it. There's no point in me doing a song. Every once in a while, a producer may be right. They may have an idea that works that you didn't agree with that actually ended up working in the long run. But as a solo artist, I take it upon myself to kind of make those decisions and be like, yeah, I know you spent some time and you think this is the thing, but it's not going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that a lot because a lot of I don't want to say a lot of times because it's not a lot of times, but there are times people have a vision of what they think you would rhyme on, and they only send you those. And I'm like, yo, just send me, don't send me what you think I would rhyme on. Just send me some beats because you don't really know what I would rhyme on. I know, you have this idea and you may want to hear me on this, but I don't think that's the best approach to sending out beats. Now, you as a producer, are you in that mindset at all too? Do you like say, I want to hear somebody on this, or like the features, I've done with you with Lifespan, was that like, I hear words on this type, like on this song. How do you go about that?
Exactly what it was because I'll I tend to make I said earlier like it may take me a week or so, a few weeks to finish a beat. With that
Right.
said, I tend to get up and maybe after work, but sometimes in the morning, especially on the weekends, I'll sit and just make beats. I'll get stuff started that I may not finish for weeks, but I'm always working on something. So I may have in my mind like right now there's two MCs I won't mention, but there's like two MCs in my mind that I'm like, oh, I need something for them, and I'll sit down and try to make something, and it may be, and because this is several months down the road when I've been thinking about at least one of these guys, like I need something for this guy, but I don't have it yet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I want it to be great, but I also don't force myself as a producer to make that one beat. Like I told you, I want to make more soulful beats or whatever.
Right.
Forcing that, I'll mess around with something, it works, and it may take me several weeks to come up with something that's actually the one. And but uh I do hear voices with music. So
Gotcha.
where your tone is, how you rhyme, the things you talk about. I know that that could work because I thought about you because the song you did years ago called "The Wildlife," right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and you, it just seemed like the way you was talking on that could fit with what was Lifespan was about. And so, and then Casey Young Bone, he was perfect because he's very vulnerable with his rhymes, and he don't mind being um, uh, open, and that's that kind of song. So I do make beats with certain people in mind, and I'll reach out, or I may make a beat, and then I'll be like, "Yo, I hear so and so on it," and yeah, I'll reach out to them based off of what the beat sounds like.
When you get a chance, send me the collaboration link on that now, because on YouTube we can collaborate, and it could be on my page too.
Oh, for Lifespan?
Yeah,
Okay,
because you
yeah.
could. Yeah, that's dope. Now I like that. You could just have the video on both pages. Yeah, yeah. So if you see any of the Stu Bangers videos, it'll say in the left, right there on the side, it'll show both of our circles.
Right, I've been noticing that with like the Math Hoffa and some other things where it's like two channels. Yeah, okay.
But you get whoever's initial page, they get the views, they get the view count. But
On IG too, you can do, yeah.
yep. So yeah, songs like that, especially like Lifespan, I'm always like loving to repost. Like old stuff is new. In this era, old stuff is new, man. And I seen I was watching something yesterday, like a Casa came on my page, came on my YouTube, and I'm like, let me see what is this? Is this new? And then people were in the comments like, yo, I'm glad you did this joint from 20 years ago. He did a video now. And people were like, yo, you need to go do the video that you did. So they're in the comments going crazy because there's a visual for their favorite song. So I realized like you
Yeah.
can just, I got some songs I'm thinking about like doing a video for too. A song called Take Me As I Am. I was like, man, I need to do a video for that. So like anytime you could do a video now, man. So yeah, for sure. With Lifespan, send me the collaborator link.
And fans, music listeners these days are always in discovery mode. You know what I mean? They're always discovering new stuff. So if they find out about if they found out about you today and they've never heard of you before, if they're like me and they like it, they're instantly going to go to discography and start, maybe even start from the beginning and just go through all your discography. Because if they like for example, I drive for a living. Like I'm driving all day, so podcast and Spotify is the thing. I just listen to, like, if I discover a new band or a new artist, I'll go through the whole discography while I'm driving. So the back in the day, we had tape trade, and stuff wasn't on the radio, stuff wasn't on MTV or BT all the time. So you just had to have cool friends that had good taste in music. And if your
Yeah.
friends had taste in music, then you didn't hear things. You know what I mean? So there's stuff from the 90s that I'm discovering now because wow, I didn't know this came out.
Yeah, I mean, I did man, this is a dope segment to talk about. I did an interview with Aida, which she's been out for years. Her interview dropped last week. She's super dope, like rapper, super dope rhyming. Like the rhymes she put together, the word choice, everything. She went viral doing a Punchline Academy freestyle. And she's like, she rap, and I'm like, man, but I saw that she had video from 9 years ago, right? So, but today getting her just due has been so dope because it's like, man, she really been rapping for a while, y'all. So it's one of those things. And then I looked at um Afro. So I shout to Afro, Afro and Stu Bangers. Their second album, I think it's Good, Bad, and Ugly too. They put me on the song Mastermind, and Afro's audience, they're younger than me and you, Fluid. You know what I'm saying? If I'm right, I think me and you, I don't know your age exactly, but I'm 50.
45.
All right. So that, he's about maybe two generations below us, about a generation. Yeah.
Contest, right? R.A. Rugged Man did, because I've been a fan of him for a long time. He did
Right.
a but where he was like discovering new MCs, and Afro was the one that like won the contest, and he's been behind him the entire time.
Yeah. So Afro and Stu invited me to be on that Mastermind song, and that like took off the verse, and people were like, "Who's this?" you know. And when I did the interview with Aida last week. I'm a fan of hers, and during that, she was like, "I don't know if you rap." She didn't even know if that I rap. So I'm just like excited to do like be a part of the other generations, and also being able to even showcase people that are fire, whether they know me or not. It doesn't matter if you know me or not. I just want to be able to showcase how fire you are because I love writing, and that's basically the essence of the show, which is why I have you on here as well. So yeah, man, people don't know, man. Everything is new. Everything is new. Somebody's new. Music is new to people.
And music's timeless. Good music is
Good
timeless.
music,
When you gonna get tired of listening to Midnight Train to Georgia? You know what I mean? You're not. It's
man.
always good.
Yeah. What's your revision process like as far as I know with beats you said it takes some days. With the rhyme, it's kind of maybe you have your own comfort zone which when you're writing your rhyme, especially at home, right? Then you said when you're in the studio, there's some pressure on you with that. What's that revision process like of saying I'm keeping that could be better?
It usually has to do with too many words or not the right words. So if I say um, um, my pen slay words that I invade, you know what I mean? It's all about that multisyllabic rhyming. The first time I may have been like my pencil say, and I'm like pencil don't sound good as pen say, sensei, invade. Uh, it's more often than not about the multisyllable rhyming. and being able to put words right in the correct pocket. Because I learned over time, like, less is more. Because I used to would write the way I saw Eminem, and may have not been true, but when I was inspired by Eminem early on, it sounded like it looked like if you had a starting pistol and you told him start, he just went until he stopped, and there wasn't much in between. There wasn't stopping, and there was a lot of intricacies going on with this rhyme, but it was pretty much just like go and don't pause. And then over time I realized, like, rhyming a little slower, pausing between words, um, and saying the right word. You could make two words deliver the same punch as five and mean the same exact thing if you pick the right two words.
Yeah.
There's great actors have a way of looking, um, and they may not even have to say a line. They're looking at the camera in a certain way that communicates that message that would have been the line, and they just keep that at the line. So there's ways you can do less, and that's usually what it is. Like, I write a lot, and then I go back and take things out. It's the editing process of this is taking things out, and that's really like with beats too. I just add a lot of sounds, and I add a lot of drums, and I go back later and I'm like, I don't even need this hi-hat. I don't even need this other thing. You know what I mean? So I take things out, more so than add.
Do you run it by anybody? That was, I remember, like, me and Punch, when we first met, it was, yo, I wrote my rhyme. Here's my rhyme. Check this out. Say it over the phone. There used to be a lot of phone battles. There was a lot of over the phone, yo, hear this verse I said, a lot of that. That's kind of died down. I mean, currently, like, I would say more recently, me and Punch probably did that in the past year or two, like, yo, I said this line and stuff, which was cool to kind of go back then, reminiscent in a way, like, yo, check this verse out. But do you run it by anybody, the whether it's beats in the car or the verse with anybody, or you just, confident?
Unfortunately, I kind of miss that. I don't have as many people that I can do that with.
Yeah,
Starbro, he's been one that's been just a staple in my life and just a good friend over the years, and produced some music for me as well. But he was one that, especially early on, because
right.
I started rapping. He saw that transition of me from poet to MC, and he was always there to be like, hey, man, maybe you could do it better. And so he was a great example of somebody we would over the phone or in person. But, as he moved away and we were in different states, it was a lot of over the
Mm,
phone, um, saying verses. You know what I mean? He'd say a verse, I'd say a verse, and whatever we're working on. There are very few people that I can do that with. Um, I do appreciate that though, and the camaraderie of being around people, like you said. There's not a lot of ciphers to just jump into anymore. Not that the community is dead. It's just everybody seems more doing their own thing and more isolated now. So I
yeah.
tend to have my own judgment. I will play it for people. A
Yeah.
lot done before it comes out. A lot of times I'll do listening sessions, but as far as like writing
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
far as writing verses and being like, hey, this is something I just wrote, check it out. You know, I used to would do that a whole lot more than I do now. But that's a great thing if you have that. If you have the ability to, like, call another MC and y'all just trade verses over the phone, because
Yeah.
they something you need to switch, and they may be absolutely correct. You know what I mean? They may be like, that verse ain't it, dog. That ain't it. you know
So then, speaking of, the album and with the storytelling, you have a song on there, um, the pin song, and then I saw some visuals that you have for it as well. Elaborate on what that song is about.
So the pen is really one of the most autobiographical songs on the album. It was one of the last things I recorded for the album as well, because it's more soulful. The drums are more like chill. It's not loud and busy, and also it felt like, okay, this is a song to where I've done all these other songs where I'm telling stories and I may have a certain theme to the music, but I don't have a song on this album yet where I'm just talking about myself. I grew up and the experience of even being a white kid growing up in a place like Mississippi, um, and falling in love with hip hop culture at such an early age, and just my heroes was Reverend Run and DMC and Tretch, and I had these people way up here, and,
Yeah.
and that that was kind of irregular. LL Cool J and shit, and then my other white friends didn't understand, and um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of dark stuff we all have to navigate through in this world, unfortunately, especially here in the South. And it's not even the South anymore. It's the whole nation is turned upside down. But I wanted to talk about, and I've talked about it in several of my albums and
Yeah.
songs, because this is a new introduction to me. Like, this album may be something that nobody's heard of me yet. You know what I mean? So I wanted to talk about growing up, and also just the idea of writing and reading and writing and being a book nerd, and how that's really more of my personality than being any kind of battle MC or any kind of gangster or tough guy or anything like that. The way De La was able to just say, "Hey, we're just who we are." You know what I mean? So I was wanting a song that would say, "Look, hey, I used to hang out in the libraries." You know what I mean? I loved the book fair when it came around. Uh, that's still my thing. It's, as you see behind me, what I mean? And I may not have read maybe half of these books, but at some point I'll get to them, and that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from. So I wanted to talk about that, as far as the difficulty, because it's a certain perspective that you don't. It may not be surprising, but it's also a perspective that people don't hear. Is the white kid growing up among black culture and trying to navigate it, and then understanding that the only way to be a part of black culture, um, and hip hop culture, which isn't necessarily just black culture, but it's just a worldwide thing, is that you have to isolate yourself from the people you love, and the people who may love you, but they just don't understand what you're doing. And you got to make your own choices in life, and you got to go your own path and do what you know is right. You know what I mean?
And then also, as far as if do you ever have a creative block? What do you do to get out of that? Or maybe you don't believe in it being a creative block. You just feel like you just ain't got it right. You know what I'm saying? What's that mindset like when you may not be as prolific as you should be? Because that pressure sometimes you may put on yourself.
Yeah, I don't like to say it's a blocker, but it's definitely a form of a block, a writer's block. But um, to me, it's about how am I feeling. You know what I mean? So I know I have the ability when I sit down to write. I have the confidence in it, and not even just the memory, the history of being able to sit down and write when I
Right.
need. So I know that I got it in me and it's not going anywhere. But there are times when, you have bad days. You just don't feel good that day. So if I wake up and it's just not a great day, and I get home from work and I don't feel good, um, instead of getting in there and trying to write when I don't feel good, I put it off until I do. I get some rest. I go chill, like I do something else. I go listen to music or go for a drive, or maybe I need some sunshine. You know what I mean? Um, I know when I'm lacking inspiration, and I know that because I feel down in the dumps, and I'm the type of person who's normally happy and calm and cheerful and optimistic. So I
Yeah.
feel optimistic. Um, I need to do something about it, which doesn't maybe do something about it's not the best word because it's really not doing anything. It's sometimes it's just pushing back and saying, "Hey, I need to take a nap. I need to start again tomorrow," and set aside a time that I know won't be interrupted and that I'm in a decent mood or there's nothing to distract me. So if I can set aside that time, I usually don't have a problem writing, but you got to know when it's time, now if there's pressure to do it right then and you don't feel good right then, you kind of happen anyway, you know what I mean? So you kind of got to be able to push through. But if you have the ability, like I do a lot of times myself, I record myself, I'm at home, so I can make up my own schedule. If I don't want to write today, I don't have to write today. I've create my own schedule as far as when the album's coming out, all that stuff. And I try not to purposely put the pressure on me that I got to finish it now. It's like, yo, this might not come out till next year. So it may take me a week to sit down and decide I want to write to it.
Well, Mr. Fluid, my man, I appreciate you doing this. For people that don't know, man, this is the second time we doing this, man. I had deleted the file trying to make space on StreamYard, and I had deleted the original interview. So he was gracious enough to come back and do it. I actually think it ended up being a little bit better because I was able to learn a little bit more and like add stuff on the screen while we're talking, which like right now I'm gonna be able to do as well when I ask you pretty much like, what's your social media, stuff like that. See, I could do stuff like this now, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get better with the show, right? So now I'm able to do that this year. I'm adding this stuff come on the screen there. Usually I would have to do it afterwards, or you would say it and then I would have to do it later. Now I'm getting all that earlier, y'all, and learning. So this it wound up being a way that I was able to learn and I think a better produced show as well. It's able to show video footage and stuff. So I'm gonna just get better at it, and I want to get better at it, after doing this for some time. So I really appreciate you, man. And for those that are listening, Fluid, can you tell them your social media? Because everybody may not be watching. As you said, you drive a lot of times, and some people do drive. I drive too and listen to podcasts. So what's your social media?
All right, so Instagram is mr_fluid. When you're on YouTube, it's Mr. Fluid. Spotify, all the platforms. Just remember it's MR Fluid. Yeah, you can find it everywhere. The Bandcamp page in particular is MR Fluid. So it's mrfluid.bandcamp.com. That's where you're going to find the merch. That's where you're going to be able to stream the first two singles from the album, and get vinyl CDs and caps right now. I have a few caps left. I have some vinyl and some CDs. The pre-orders are going pretty strong right now. So
Yeah, I
I'm
want to ask you, man. It's talking to you because we talk off air, but also as we talking, I'm thinking the questions. What's the a reception been like of people know you're doing this album with Quincy Tones? Do they notice a different energy in this album and how you've been excited about it? Like, what's because we're getting the pre-orders, have people said, like, oh, I want to hear that. So, like, when me and Stu do stuff, it's even now, even though we did a project, people are like, oh, this is gonna be cool. It's new, everything's new to people. What's it like with this album with you and Quincy doing it? People knowing Quincy, and now they're like, oh, you got Quincy,
Yeah, well, being that I've been working on this album for about 2.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lot of people in my circle, in my friend circle, that's heard me talk about it. People I don't mind sharing things with, and I appreciate their creative input. I've been showing different versions of the cover art. That's not the final cover art, you know what I mean? That's probably like the fourth or fifth version of that. So there's been people I've been showing things along, and like I was telling you before with listening sessions, there's been a
Yeah.
few this album that isn't even what you hear now because I've rearranged things. I maybe redid a mix.
Tell me, because I remember stuff from the last conversation. Tell everybody about how you went and performed the songs, the new songs, and people were like,
Yeah. So I did like two performances so far. Um, One in particular comes to mind that I think we were talking about, where I did a lot of the songs I normally do, and then at the end of the set, I was like, "All right, y'all, I got two new songs," and this was a month or so ago. Um, it's it'll be a little while. Album's not gonna come out till February, but I want to get some feedback for these songs, and everybody just lit up when I did the new stuff, and then told me afterwards, "Yo, that's it right there. That's it." So I knew I had something, and then also like from the listening sessions and people that know my history and know my work, um, knew that this was an important album for me, knew it was something I was taking my time with, which is interesting because I don't normally take a lot of, like, I might take a lot of time to make a song, but once I decide like, okay, I'm putting this album out, I generally just put it together and put the album out. This is something to where I had to plan for and budget for, because I had a rollout plan that I hasn't been doing such an extensive plan for. So
"Yeah,
and to hear the journey along the way, their feedback has meant a lot because they've let me know like this is the album, and in particular they've told me things like this is the album you were meant to make, like
wow,
this is what I wanted to hear from you maybe years ago, or maybe if they know certain things I've done along the way, they can hear how this album is like the culmination of all that. It's like a full circle moment of things I've been talking about, or ways I've been rhyming over the years that just kind of came together with this album. And it's kind of
yeah."
like, so, and just the idea that they, that they do appreciate it, and they're like, good job. That means a lot, man, because, um, everybody's not like a hip hop head. There are a lot of music lovers out there, strive to make music for music lovers, but it also means a lot when the people that know the 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 importance of making like a real true hip hop album, and how that can come together, and then seeing it along the way and how I put it together. That means a lot, that they appreciate what I've done.
What are three out songs or albums of yours that you want people to go check out now to get to know you and say, "Oh, okay, I missed this. I could, oh, okay, I'm gonna add this to my playlist." Old, new, even what's maybe, then if the album, when if somebody's watching it, the album is out, or if before, is it the new album too as well? So what are three songs or pieces of your art?
Well, I'll kind of go in a couple different directions. We talked about Lifespan, but I'm gonna throw that out there. Lifespan with Wordsworth and KC Young Bone. I produced it. The video's out on YouTube. It's out on all streaming services. That song in particular,
And let
uh,
me tell you, that beat sounded primo-ish, man.
uh, I appreciate that, man. And that was one where I just tried to make a chill beat. I was just like, I'm not gonna do a whole lot. I just want to feel, and that was that's one of my favorite songs I've ever did. So I was happy to hear you say the same thing, because it meant a lot. And I think, man, we recorded that in 2019 maybe. But anyway, I was just thinking about people I've lost in my life. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
it meant a lot to me, and I think it will mean something to people who check it. For a whole nother side, I did a song with a producer called John Quest called Time's Up, and Bam Jones is on it. And it's just more of a trappy, like, it's different. It's not gonna trap music, but it's more of a modern type of beat, and it's bouncy, and that's something that might take a few people, and did take a few people by surprise. I heard it's like, my Fluid's on some, he's having fun, so that's
right.
the fun, not so serious side of me. I want people to check out the SODL music because it's a whole nother thing. It's drum and bass and hip hop coming together. So Dirty South to London is a song I did with MC Jamalski, which goes back to the late 80s and BDP. He was part of that crew and was on like uh I forget which album, but you know, I did a song with him and Pitch Posh that produced it, Roughneck Reality. That's his brand. But Dirty South to London was a cool little mix of hip hop with drum and bass, and um, that's SODL. Um, I think I just named three. Other than
Yeah,
that,
it's okay. You can name more if you want to, man. Whatever, because there's joints, man, that you got that you're like, damn, I wish more people heard this. This is my best verse, or one of my favorite songs. So I'm all good, man. If you got more, let them go.
other than that, the new album, there's two singles, The Pen and I'll Be There. The Pen's, like I said, it's more autobiographical. It's talking about growing up and being inspired by other people and by the culture and just navigating through this world in my own way, carving my own path. And I'll Be There is a love song, man. It's about my wife. It's a beautiful song that's got a real R&B feel to it. It sounds like something that I don't know, half Jodeci, half Pete Rock. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful sound to it, and it's just it's a song that means a lot to me. And that's out right now. Um, Other than that, man, dig through the discography, man. I've done several things. I did a joint with Keith Murray called "Revenge of the Street Nerds." The remix actually got more streams than the original, so that was a moment I was proud of. I had Big Rube on my first solo album. Um, but Punchline was on my first solo album. I did a song with Kamikaze of Crooked Letters, so that's Mississippi Fame. Um, so yeah, there's several things that would show different sides of me along the way.
Dope, man. Fluid, thanks for stopping by again, always. Everybody, I'm going to put the links in the description for the album. Make sure you go get that album and, tap in with him as far as if you need verses, if you need beats, whatever you need, he's able to do it. You might need somebody to open up as a poet. That's the other thing, y'all. Don't just think we can come on a rap angle. You maybe have a new business that you're opening and you want somebody to do some poetry. So anything you need, he got it. So once again, thank y'all out there. Make sure y'all go get that album. And like I always say, what are your words worth? Peace, y'all. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, man, for always